Hi, everybody. Happy Monday. Yeah, I'm going to talk about the Overwatch controversy. I have a favor to ask before we get into this. When I talk about these things and people give me shit like they give me shit about every controversial subject I decide to talk about, people use that to discredit my own personal narrative, that the things I believe about myself, by claiming that I'm a victim and I don't even see it, because they treat nasty comments that I just see as nasty comments and or unfair criticism, or sometimes fair criticism. They treat that as harassment. So I appreciate, because some people are going to be hate watching this stuff, to go easy on the ridiculous nitpicking and the you know nothing about this subject because of one tangent of a tangent that you disagree with. Please, not the time because of the subject material. I appreciate in advance you being cool about this. Now get the housekeeping out of the way. Help support this channel. Become a monthly patron, patreon.com/LeannaK. Or if you're mad at Patreon or just want to do a one-time money dump, there's a PayPal, there's an address you can use with PayPal in this description box. Please use it. This means you, people who claim you'd be happy to support me by other means, but you're dropping Patreon and haven't done it yet. And there's a few dozen of you. Point made. Moving on. I'm going to give Forbes a bit of a, because anytime you use an article, even if you disagree with it, it is promotion. I'm going to use Forbes in this case, just because I think that Eric Kane of Forbes has been the biggest grown-up in the games press who commented in advance on the Ellie thing. Even though I'm going to kind of disagree with parts of this, I credit where credit's due. Eric didn't write this, but I do want to give him kudos for being a grown-up. So I'm gonna use his site. To summarize, if you guys don't know what all this Overwatch Ellie is, I will try to do this as quickly as possible for the people that do know what's going on, which means I am going to gloss over some stuff. I'm not going to get in every single detail, and I might mess up a few things just because of brevity. Don't freak out, please. That's not the important thing here. Okay. The short version is in the title. Overwatch has a fake female player scandal that is a mess that keeps on giving. Short version, and I think this is even too brief. I will add little details that I think are important, but this is a good sort of primer. Someone in the Overwatch Pro community created a Smurf account, as they called it, a fake account, pretending to be a player named Ellie. Supposedly a talented teenage girl about to play in an Overwatch league. What it is not important if you guys don't follow esports. It turned out to be a Smurf account for a male player named Punisher, who would get girls to go on voice chat while he played the game. Punisher is calling it a social experiment that got out of hand, but Paul Tassi and everyone else don't really know what that social experiment was supposed to be. The team considering Ellie for their roster, Second Wind, has apologized for not doing due diligence to confirm her identity, and Blizzard has come out to officially declare her to be a fake, though noting she was never actually a part of any team nor actually played in Overwatch Contenders. I don't think that was kind of the point that Blizzard was making. I think Blizzard was speaking out against Punisher's actions, which Blizzard has a very unique community moderation style, and I think he's going to be in some trouble for this, and he deserves to be. People are really emotional about this. I was. It took me about a day and 3/4 to just not be able to rage about it. When I found out about this, when somebody linked me to the story in Twitter DMs, my first comment was, "What the holy fuck?" Followed by, "What the actual fuck?" There is an element of don't be a dick that all of gaming runs on. There is a lot of handshake deals and honor system that provide the bedrock for gaming. And people get really burned by this stuff. A lot of the reasons that gamers are so cynical and give new people, especially new people who seem to know what they're doing, a rough time is because of this, people who use the reality that anything online is built on a lot of basically mutually beneficial trust. And that is important to recognize. That is important to understand when you understand why people get so upset when people violate that code of the internet. That is a very important thing to understand about the internet. It weaves through a non-culture. It weaves through even cryptocurrencies. A lot of the stuff that happens online, certainly hacker culture, your reputation is in some ways the only thing that matters because, the internet gives us a real ability to tightly control what we show the world. Some of us, like me, believe in a persistent online identity. I let, a lot of myself just hang out there. People like me, people hate me, whatever, this is me. I'm not, pretending to be a whole bunch of different people or pretending to be someone I'm not. It's too hard to keep that all straight. Other people treat their identity or identities as brands. And there are some theories that was what Punisher was trying to do is bilk people out of money and or stuff because of this element of the internet that personally makes me very uncomfortable, that guys, let's say, are very free with the gifts, not the little graphic things, but gifts, like stuff with female players in a way they're not with male players. And gamers are a very giving people overall. I don't want to misrepresent here. I am always astounded at the way, and I've started doing it too. I like it. I like this part of the gaming community that when, I have an extra code for a game, I get a duplicate or something like that. Sometimes I'll just fire off on Twitter, hey, who wants this? People swap codes because gaming's expensive and we try to help each other out. And, most of the people that I have a back and forth with that way, it's reciprocal. So I'm okay with that. But when somebody who doesn't know me very well just wants to give me something, I tend to question whether they're doing it because I'm female who knows how to slap a bit of makeup on my face. You like the berry lip, by the way? I'm very impressed with my berry lip. It took me a long time. This isn't something that male gamers have to worry about. But some do, I guess. Some like makeup too. I shouldn't generalize. But this is run headlong into all the myths, all the collective storytelling we emit into the world about gamers and gender. And I have to, I gave Forbes kudos before. Now I have to give them a bit of a criticism because I saw this and got really mad. Paul Tassi did sort of a summary of the sides. And overall, it makes some good points. But there was one point I'm like, I got to check you here, man. On the one side, you have game journalists who originally ran with the story that Ellie was a young girl that had been harassed out of the league because of harassment and doxing attempts against her. On the other, you have the Gamergate era crowd saying, aha, you stupid journalists didn't do your jobs and the doxing helped prove she was actually a fake. That's not how I interpreted it quite, but I'll go on. But then you have the point that even a fake female player was subject to harassment that would probably not have occurred if this player was supposed to be an anonymous boy, not a girl, or at least wouldn't have blown up the way it did. I disagree with the first part strongly. I've seen male players take shit for a lot of similar things, including game developers who do pre-recorded video at trade shows instead of playing it live. That was a complaint I heard directly from some top Gears of War people. I don't remember if it was Rod Ferguson or Cliffy B, but they were mad. It was like around Gears 3 that people were saying it was fake gameplay because they didn't see the other two players playing backstage. And I remember they just said, it's always live gameplay with Gears. With Gears being the critical point there. It means other people do use pre-rendered footage, use fake footage. They're not actually playing it live. And everybody knows it within the industry. Everybody knows that's a fairly common practice, which is why Gears always does it live, so you know that's actually how the game plays. And they do have a very good reputation for being for setting reasonable expectations of what you're going to get. But no, I disagree that only women get it. It doesn't blow up the way it does. I will agree with that. More on that in a bit. I want to get through this. But because doxing worked in this case, it's easy to see how harmful this is going to be for the future of female players in leagues where they are already practically non-existent. The Ellie case will be used to justify future doxing attempts against female-presenting players, and you're going to have endless LOL is she even real memes for any skilled female player that enters the pro scene. This assumes that doxing isn't already done to everybody with any opinion or any profile within gaming. And everybody gets doxed. It's out of control. It's a serious problem that people aren't really understanding what a drain it is to have it done to you, saying it is somebody who's had it done. It's not the end of the world. It does not necessarily mean you are in any danger unless you have, say, an abusive ex or family members who wish you harm. And I know people, male and female, well, that is a concern. So let's not gender this, please. And in the end, this wasn't actually a big deal since Ellie Punisher never joined a league and never played in Overwatch Contenders at all, which isn't even the main Overwatch Pro League. Now, that's true, but some game journalists made a big deal about it, and that loops into this ongoing defensive crouch, protective crouch that the game industry has been in since 2014, since 2015, the height of Gamergate. They still treat Gamergate as this boogeyman, and I want everyone to let it go. Gamergate was far from the worst thing that has ever happened in gaming. We had serious things where somebody ended up getting killed because of a Call of Duty fake dox, because of a SWAT. Swatting is extremely serious. There have been serious issues. Even the Mr. Deadmoth thing that gets messier and messier by the day, and I have not had the opportunity to do an update on that. I apologize for that. But even that is more serious than what Gamergate was, which was mean words on the internet. Yes, a lot of doxing. I was doxed during Gamergate, and then subsequently. But I was also doxed during the Facebook data breach, so it's a risk of being online. Facebook has not been terribly apologetic about that. Equifax. The Equifax breach. This is not something that is unique to gaming. It's not something that is even a specific problem in gaming. And I know just as many people who are vehemently against doxing and will never do it under any circumstances. I also know that there are some hacktivists out there that are watching people who maliciously dox and give them a taste of their own medicine. No matter what you feel about this sort of counter impacts, people who decide to be just malicious little jerks just because they can, I have found in gaming eventually get theirs. I guess because I already take so much crap, I'm far less, think of the women children, regarding these things. this isn't the first time something like this has happened. This doesn't just happen to women about prove it's you. It happens to guys as well. Or in certain cases, prove it's not you who's filing abuses of the content flagging system, of the copyright claim system. You know, guys got taken down by that. I think the data is being cherry picked here. I think the media is selectively looking at things to try to make it a unique problem for women when I don't believe it is. Now, because of the way women are trained, it is in some ways scarier, but I'm not sure that's true anymore. Having seen male friends and some family go through this kind of stuff, men get freaked out just as badly as women do when they're exposed online in these ways. They just really aren't given the social license to have a public meltdown about it. And I don't think that's right. I think we're only going to address this problem if, men are given the social permission to say, no, it happens to us. It's bad when anybody does it. Can we just stop being raging bags of dicks to each other, please? Like, can we just not? There is another way. And as soon as this stuff becomes less socially acceptable in gaming, including by the games press, the less it will happen. I mean, let's face it, games press, jump on something like piranhas when there's a data leak or a data breach or something that leaked out of a company that they weren't supposed to get, or somebody got a hold of an email for a yet unannounced Fallout game. And so they get the headline. When a company gets doxxed and it gets forwarded to the games press, that's considered news. And the problem is, in this play, create, share gaming community, when is something a corporation and when is someone a person? I mean, esports players are little individualized businesses in human bodies. They are the embodiments of a lot of money changing hands. So what's corporate? What's personal? We haven't figured this out yet. When somebody like me goes out, asks for money at the beginning of most of these videos, that's a business transaction. So there is an expectation of a certain amount of accountability and transparency. There is a certain giving up of certain elements of my privacy, though I do think people do take it too far. Again, I am not the only one this happens to. Every male YouTuber I know has gone through similar problems. So I do not believe it is just because I'm female. I think it has something to do with the platform and what's considered appropriate. Now, let's move off of that for a bit and talk about this, the specifics of this whole Ellie thing and what it means and why I was really, really angry and why I don't think this is actually going to be too terrible. The short version of why I don't think it's too terrible is that internet memes have a half-life of about a month. Remember that period where there was that BBC Jordan Peterson thing? And so what you're trying to say is, I forget what it was, but there was this meme of people thought she was too harsh in her paraphrasings of what he said. And it became this meme. And women got bombarded with it for about 2 weeks and then they got bored. Going back, remember Harambe? Everybody got bombarded with Harambe memes for about a month and then that got old. Remember Hitler Reacts To? That had a good 6 months shelf life when that got old. Remember Undertale memes? Those went on forever. Those are still going on, but mostly, not super current now. Other games have come out. So this LOL, are you even real thing, unless it was a serious problem before this Ellie thing happened, it's going to be a meme for about a month and then people are going to move on. So we don't have to worry about that. What I'm more concerned about and what made me really angry is the persistent benevolent sexism in the games press that they refuse to be accountable for, because all they can say is, but, Gamergate, and they think that's enough. And this pisses me off as a woman who, I shouldn't say as a woman, as an individual who happens to be female, who doesn't think there's enough inclusion in the games press, and who thinks there is still too much gatekeeping in the games press, and the only time the games press lets us speak about things is some extension of our vagina. We somehow have to tie in being female in some way. It has to be relevant in a way that maleness isn't, to be able to get a freelance piece published. And, we know that there's an element of, look, we published a woman, instead of actually giving us, enough work to get by on based on our merits, and treating us like everybody else with the recognition that individuals have individual needs. I really do think there should be more, never mind female esports players. That's a whole lifestyle thing that I really don't have time to get into right now. But the games press needs to stop complaining about the lack of women in other elements of gaming when there is a lack of women in games journalism. Just look at the footage of E3. It's a sausage party. You see the occasional black person, a smattering of Asian people. Still, far fewer women are covering games because it's getting harder and harder to get in. Than are playing games. It's not representative. And that is because games journalism and the games industry, not the developer side, the promotional side, they gatekeep. They do not give opportunities to women to help us build audiences, to give us this access. And I'm not asking for affirmative action. I'm just asking to, recognize certain intangibles that aren't, 55 million views or whatever. Other things like devoted audiences, like knowing what the hell we're doing, like being a different voice, these things. And unfortunately, it's still not a good system. And I wish that the ecosystem of games media would get its own house in order before they criticized anyone else. They are still unwilling to, because but Gamergate. I'm sick of hearing about Gamergate. I almost did. I hate Gamergate like I hate The Sims. I hate The Sims, but this isn't Lady Bits. That was a character thing. Enough. The statute of limitations is run out on that one. You can't take any criticism and claim it's Gamergate. The news media got duped here. And this is why I give Eric Kane credit and used a Forbes piece. Because he said, I think I'm paraphrasing a tweet he put out. But he said, I think we just have to admit we got fooled. And that's the most mature way to do it. This doesn't have to be a big deal. If they go, you know what? If there's some nuance to the position of, you know what, some skepticism is healthy. You know what, it's totally valid to say, hey, this gameplay isn't syncing up with the commentary, which is what the complaint was. It wasn't, maybe people were paying attention more because it was a woman, or a girl in this case, a teenage girl. But I think anybody whose gameplay doesn't sync with their commentary gets called out, or someone calls shenanigans. I've seen it happen, So I think it was less to do with the gender of the player and more something doesn't seem right here. And I think that part of the skepticism is because people would love gaming to be filled with a bunch of hot chicks that also like games. And I realize that is not necessarily an egalitarian desire. I'm just saying it's true. I think even more people would love just any woman, hot or not. I'm joking, okay? Don't freak out, okay? Don't call me lookist or whatever. But, they want more women in it. And they want it so much that they're skeptical precisely because they want it that badly. They desperately want things to be better. And gamers have been burned a lot, so gamers are sort of cynical, and the better something looks, the more skeptical we get. I know this because I am a gamer. We don't like feeling stupid. And so if something's burned us in the past, we're super, super suspicious of anything that makes us feel good in the same way ever again, which is why a lot of us are miserable assholes. It's not a healthy way to live, but I totally understand it. This only became a big deal because it was a female player. If it was a male player, somebody called shenanigans on them, which happens all the time, again, it wouldn't have been news. And now we get back to this thing of game sites are too quick to publicize a women as victims narrative, and then they don't promote our stuff, and they make excuses for it. And I guess somewhere out there, they feel like they're doing more of a public good for defending poor, defenseless women. But that same urge that puts women in that princess in a tower role, that same benevolently sexist view, is the same thing that causes the exact same games press to not cover our stuff when we actually step into the male-dominated roles of content and opinion. And that's not going to change until those benevolently sexist attitudes get significantly reduced in the games media. And, you know, that's the high irony of someone like Anita Sarkeesian. Oh, I'm going there. She made a big thing with Princess Peach and the damsel in distress being overused. And she had a point there, though you guys saw in Lady Bits what I thought at that point. The general point, and I keep hearing this again, is people can quibble around the edges, but yeah, we were being lazy, game developers said. All right, fine. The high irony of Anita Sarkeesian is she is herself gaming's most high-profile damsel in distress, followed by Zoe Quinn and then Brianna Wu. And the reason these women keep coming up in headlines is because there's this victim narrative surrounding them. And unfortunately, it's really hard to get coverage as a woman in this industry with anything but a victim narrative. Because the victim narratives suck up all the oxygen. That's an easy thing to get approved by an editor. I had people who supported the Lady Bits project who said to me, I'll never get this past my editor. It's not newsworthy enough. A woman trying to make a series about games isn't news. Even when the thing came up. We'll revisit when it comes out again. No one did. When the series was finished, no one revisited it. It was bullshit. Because they're just chasing the next sensational, women gets harassed on the internet. You guys are being sexist and you don't see it. You are so blinded by this one narrative that you see it everywhere, even when it doesn't exist. And you don't realize that you are making it harder for us by casting us in default victim status. Nobody follows a victim up a hill. You follow a leader up a hill. And no one sees a victim as a leader. And as long as women are default victims in the video game media narrative, people will never take us seriously. This has to stop. Now, this doesn't mean never cover a legitimate news thing. I'm not sure that somebody quitting an esports team they were never a part of because they couldn't take the heat because they were pulling shenanigans is newsworthy. But, you know, if it is newsworthy that a woman got harassed into silence, then it is also newsworthy that men get harassed into silence. And that happens all the time and nobody covers it. It's only a hook because it plays into people's existing preconceptions. And that's the bigger problem that this Ellie Overwatch thing heightens. And even if you want to believe, hey, it's a broken clock being right twice a day, fine. But that doesn't change the fact that the media ran with a story that was false because it's happened so many times before that they didn't check this one out on the basis of its individual merits. And that's sloppy. We all do it sometimes. But we have to admit it's sloppy. So I'll leave it there and hope that people don't take it the wrong way. I don't know what I'm going to do tomorrow. This whole week has sort of been thrown into chaos by some breaking stories. So I'm going to have to put on my thinking cap and figure it out. But for now, thanks for watching. And I look forward to your calm, respectful, insightful, high quality comments. Thanks for watching.